Well, the RCMP say a man is in custody following a national security investigation. 23-year-old Kevin Mohamed appeared in court today to face weapons charges. He is also facing allegations he was preparing to leave Canada to engage in terrorism. Well, for more on the story, we are reaching out to lawyer Anser Farooq. He is representing Mr. Mohamed. He is right now in Mississauga, Ontario. Anser Farooq, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with Kevin Mohamed. You have met with him. How is he doing right now? What state is he in?
Well, he's well. He's been detained since yesterday, so he's still trying to get acculturated to the environment.
Still trying to get used to the environment of it all. And the charges that he faces, he did appear in court today to face two weapons charges. One was carrying a concealed weapon and the other possession of a weapon dangerous to public peace. But he's also facing, and this is from the release that we got from the RCMP, that pursuant to section 810.011, fear of terrorism offense based on the Criminal Code of Canada. This fear of terrorism offense, what can you say about that? Can you explain what is being alleged here?
Well, he's not charged with those offenses. He was arrested under those offenses. So the only charges that he's facing are the two that you mentioned.
But
that's going to be a determination.
Sorry, but based on the arrest itself, they are quoting this fear of terrorism offense. What can you say about that?
Well, the RCMP has been investigating, and they have a belief at this point, which hasn't been tested in court, that he may be a threat to security of Canada, and they're following up on that by having him arrested. But as I said, they haven't charged him with these offenses, and it still remains to be seen whether there will be any charges on those offenses.
And I appreciate the sensitivity and the timing of all this, but I'm wondering, is there anything that your client has said about this allegation being made against him?
Well, I don't go into allegations with the client, and nor can I obviously address them here. But at this point, the only charges that he's looking at are the weapons ones, and the weapon being a knife. The context of why the RCMP believes that he's some sort of a threat, national threat, and so on, is still to be tested and investigated, and we'll look at it when it comes to fruition. At this point, it's very premature, and they're talking about peace bonds and under Section 810, so we'll have to see what really they have before we even entertain taking that kind of a position.
Well, you say we still need to see what they really have. Does that mean to say the RCMP has not disclosed anything to you about that matter?
We get a synopsis. At being the first appearance, you get a synopsis as to the allegations, but obviously you get disclosure as the matter proceeds. It's very early on, and we'll see what else they have. And it's at this point purely an interpretation taken on by an RCMP officer in the investigating force, and Crown obviously also had a review of it. And in their view, it warranted having this individual brought in. Whether or not it justifies a peace bond to be entered into, that's something for the courts to determine. And that's where I come in to see whether or not it's appropriate, from my client's perspective, to enter into one.
There have been reports already that this is related to social media activity. Can you say anything about that?
Right. Well, again, as I said, it's an interpretation of the context and the words being uttered by him in whether it's social media context, and somebody's got to review this to see whether it's appropriate to have him face charges or have him even enter into a peace bond in this context, and that's where it's coming from.
Now, what about, from what I'm reading so far, we're uncertain as to Mr. Mohamed's family and where he's actually from. What can you tell us about his family members? Have you been able to contact them about all this?
Yeah, I've spoken to the family members, but I can't get into that with you at this point. It's something that we'll have to deal with in court.
Okay. And just for clarity's sake here, where exactly was Mr. Mohamed arrested yesterday?
I believe it may have been in Waterloo, and then he was brought into Brampton.
Because he is a student at the University of Waterloo?
I do not believe he's a student currently.
Not a student currently at the university. And as you said, he's still getting acclimated to where he is right now. Is his mental state okay? Is he in shock right now? What can you say about that?
Well, it takes time to adjust. You know, you get put away in a cell, and I believe you were arrested sometime 2 p.m. yesterday. So a lot of movement happens in that period of time, whether or not he's had sleep or whether or not he's able to eat during that period of time. All of that gets into an individual who's then brought into court and there's a lot to take in. So it's not something that's indicative of where he's going to be tomorrow or the day after. It'll take some time before I can get into the issues with him. It's not something I deal with right off the bat.
Now, his next court appearance is scheduled for Tuesday morning in Brampton, which is in the Greater Toronto area. What is next for you and your client?
Well, we're going to hopefully meet with the family, figure out our plan to see whether or not we can get him bail, and I don't see why it would be an instance that a person facing these kind of charges would not be given bail. I've had numerous clients in the past who've been granted bail and even more serious allegations than these. The question here is to figure out whether or not we're going to enter into a 810 peace bond, whether it's even appropriate. We may have a hearing on that issue to determine whether an 810 peace bond is even appropriate in this context.
And again, the 810 peace bond deals with that fear of terrorism offense that was quoted by the RCMP in their release. Is the family in the Peel region? Is that why it's in Brampton Court, sir?
I can't quite tell you where the family is, but primarily the jurisdiction is based on where the accused is from or where the offense they believe to allege to have occurred. And in this context, it's internet related, so it's their call. It's not necessarily an issue that we're going to be taking up. It's too premature to say whether jurisdiction is appropriate before the court in Brampton or not.
Well, Mr. Farooq, again, I appreciate the sensitivity of the timing of all this, but I do appreciate the time that you've shared with us. As Anser Farooq, he is the lawyer for Kevin Mohamed, who is now under detention. His next court appearance is Tuesday morning in Brampton.